Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode number 7 of the All Stars Club podcast. Please, once again, before we get started, press that subscribe button. Helps out a lot. And then go follow us on applepodcast.com. It's the same thing, Club All Stars, and then All Stars Club podcast. So let's just get right into it. Today, we have a very special perspective. We tried to get this for a couple weeks now. He is a husband. He is a father to a Club All-Star alum.
Yeah.
He helped out at Club All-Star. He was a parent, helper, coach. To give us the insight of a parent at Club All-Star, it is Joe Bavaro. Yeah, I put their thing in. So obviously, if you didn't, and then just a disclaimer, I'm going to put this out there before we even start. If you're a parent and you hear anything that you do not like, please take a look in the mirror, because there might be something wrong, and obviously this is all Joe's opinion. If you have anything wrong with Joe, take it up with me, because I invited him to do this, okay? Just so we can get that out of the way, so you guys don't get upset during whatever.
So I don't get ambushed on my way into the facility. That's what I'm saying. There you go. Yeah.
So just to start, how were you introduced to Club All-Star?
Okay, so obviously, kind of same story as all the parents. Yeah. You know, kids playing in Little League when they're smaller. You kind of get into this a little more and more, and you start looking for places to play. Mm-hmm. You know, like where do I want my kid to play? Yeah. And it's actually a funny story. We were playing in Tracy, and Nika was 9, okay. And we played a club team, and we had played them a few times. Yeah. J-Rod was coaching.
Oh, okay.
Club was one of those teams I couldn't understand. I felt like we were just as physical. Players were just as good. Yeah. We got run ruled every time. And it wasn't like a run rule where they hit 4 or 5 home runs or whatever.
Where
it was
like 8 in the 5th.
Right. Yeah. No, it was they got a run on us here, a run or 2 here, run there, run here. And it was always like 2 out walk, stolen base, pass ball, and then, you know, put a ball in play to the other side. And you know, whatever. They just always nickel and dime us. Yeah. Bludgeoned us. So we were in Tracy, and the kid who was coaching for us, great guy, Jake Caton, was J-Rod's college roommate.
Oh, nice.
And so he came over after the game and said, "Hey, the lefty, the young, and why don't you bring him in?"
Move over here.
And I had heard good things. Yeah. We, you know, obviously been getting our butt kicked for the last year or whatever, and I was like, okay, we'll
can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Right. And we were actually, it was probably a month later, we were doing the NTIS at BLD, USA baseball deal, and JD was there and had a team.
Awesome.
And so that was when I first met JD. And I'm like, hey, you know, I've been told we probably should talk at some point.
So first impressions of JD?
He was up in the stands like 5 minutes before their game was supposed to start.
Okay.
So we've been there, right? Like these kids are at 9, 10, 11 years old. They're all over the place, and you're just basically trying to keep them from
herding cats.
And burning the place down. Like it's so it was right before game time. He was a little rushed, and I mean, you could tell he was the dude. You know, like so I talked to him a little bit, and at that point, Nico was catching, and he was actually on the field.
That's right.
Yeah. So he was catching, and he goes, "Oh, the lefty catcher?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay. Why don't you come to tryouts?" And I'm like, "All right, well, we'll see." So we came to tryouts, and you know, that was our introductory, to the whole scenario here.
And then so coming in, right? It's. As a parent, especially, you don't really know what you're going to get out of it.
No.
So was it more exciting in the fact that just Nico's in a new place, or did you guys, obviously your wife and you had a conversation, let's take him here. Was it more of like, okay, he's going to develop more here, or was it just kind of more like he's going to win now at this moment?
No. So I was looking for someplace. My main reason for looking for someplace for him to play was I knew he was going to outgrow me. Pretty quickly. Okay. You know, he was undersized but good player. Yeah. So I knew that what I could give him was gonna run out. It was gonna max out. Yeah, it was gonna max out. And so in order for him to keep progressing, I needed to find some place that was gonna push him.
Perfect.
And JD had just started like the conversion here at Hebert. So the big field had just gotten turfed.
Yep.
The 2 backfields were still dirt. Obviously the bullpen area was kind of,
newish.
I mean, it wasn't covered, and
didn't have an overhang.
No, and it had 18 different types of turf on it, and and the mound had holes in it and whatever. But it was nice, and it was here. For us, it was a big decision too, because we live in Escalon, and so it was 45 minutes, and practices ran a little late, and Nico always wants to stay after and hit or do some other stuff. So we're not getting home on a school night till 9:30. Yeah, whatever. We're eating dinner in the car on the way home, and so for us to do that, like, we really had to feel like this was the place.
This was worth it.
Yeah. And so development-wise, I mean, I really remember coming. I don't remember the last time. Before that, I don't remember the last time I was in this Oak Park area.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, right, why would we? Yeah. And you come into the main area, and JD's got the thing up there with all the college guys and whatever, and it was neat. It was like, okay, this is a place where
people develop.
This is a development place. And so that was most important to me. The winning and stuff.
It comes.
I mean, it comes with that, but it's not. That wasn't what I was after. We had long-term goals. So.
And so, talking about that first piece, and we'll get a little bit into the parent side of things now, right? Relinquishing the power to train your kid. It's a tough. I can only imagine. I don't have any children, but I can imagine, especially with kids that I coach, it's hard to see those kids be coached by other people, and I'm not even their dad or anything. I can only imagine, especially at that young of an age, talk about what allowed you to feel comfortable in letting JD, and it wasn't take over, obviously, you're still there helping, but to be able to give him the forefront of what you may or may not know.
Right. So, like, I guess I'm just an average parent, but I probably know enough to be dangerous, as far as baseball-wise, and,
Well, that was a cool thing, because you invested yourself in it.
Yeah, I mean,
that was the cool part.
But my thing was, I knew 100%. I knew JD knew what he was doing. But also along with that, I had met some of the coaches, got some references, some things. I knew that the coaches and the guys he had in place also knew what they were doing. Yeah. So my big goal was to be here and completely step out. Yeah. As far as, I didn't want to coach him. Yeah. I didn't want to be in the dugout. Allison and I had actually talked about, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays are date nights now. Yeah. We drop him off here, and then we go, awesome. Go have dinner, and we did it for maybe like 2 weeks. And so Cisco actually, it's funny because Nico was on Cisco's first team. Yeah. So when I come by myself, I would hang out on the outside of the fence. I brought my lawn chair.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Yep. Brought a little dinner. Yeah. No problem. Hanging out. Kind of watch from afar. Yeah. I didn't even want to be near him. Yeah. And I started getting like calls or a text. I got a text during practice. Hey, can you come help? Yeah. Yeah, I'll come out there. Okay. And then the next practice, I got a call before. Hey, can you bring your phone, go to practice tonight? All right. And then
that was all she wrote.
Yeah. And then it was like, all right, can you just be here? Yeah. And I said, okay. Date night's over. Like, right. Then we're done with that. And so all of a sudden now I'm back
in it.
Yeah, I was in it. And
so was that a weird switch for you, or was that kind of like, was it more like, cool, I get to be back in it, or was it like, okay, hold on a minute, like I got to start to refresh myself a little bit to be able to know what I'm doing?
No, like it was Cisco's show, and always when I've helped and coached and done whatever, it's always their show. Yeah. Always. I mean, not even close. But like, I'm happy to be around the boys. Yeah. Like, it's great. It really is. Yeah. And being around the kids. And the only part about it that was tough was coaching your own kid, and I want to be dad in the stands and, I see those guys are all they look like they're having a good time. I mean, most of them look like they're having a good time. Sure. And it's fun, to sit there and watch your kid. But, it's also fun being out there for practice. Yeah. It's great to see them, do something well, or especially when they're younger. The older you get, a little different. But when they're younger and you can teach them something and they just want to learn, they want you just to teach them
They're
anything.
just happy to learn something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's great.
Oh, I
So that was fun. But every year, I think he was 10 years old, 11s and 12s. Yeah, so every year I thought I was out for the first few years.
Okay.
I just thought I was done. And so I had to have the conversation with, it was Cisco first, and then Tyler, and then Robbie, and then Vic, and then actually when Avery got him, I said, I'm not doing it.
And you got this, Avery.
No, I said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And he goes, because Vic had coached him the year before, and then he was going to assist. I said, you got Vic.
Yeah.
You don't need me in there. And now you got two dads in there. You know, Vic had his kid there, and Zach was there, and there was no reason to have all of us in there. I said, you guys deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, you deal with it. And then I think it pissed Avery off, but JD got him the next year, and I said, do you need, he goes, yeah, come help. I said, okay, I'm back.
Perfect.
So I got to skip Avery's year. It was,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so how did you see, right? So there's getting to Club All-Star, and then we can kind of move forward a couple years, but were you surprised how quickly Nico was able to develop here, or was it kind of like a slow, gradual thing that now that you look back on, you can say, yes, he got better, but
body
it was
work.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell from, the second he was here, I could tell where the growth was coming from, right? But see, Nico's a little bit of a different scenario. I mean, when we came in, he got put on the second team. Mm-hmm. He was a white kid. So that was to start. And then the second year, which he played up a year from where he is now. So it was the 2025 class, which is like an absolutely loaded class.
Insane.
They had, there's 35 or 36 of them. Yeah. And I mean, you're starting to see all these commitments now, and then there's going to be a lot of D1 dudes out of those. And even that third team is going to have multiple D1 commits on the third team. Yeah. And so it was different in that I had to really trust what they were telling me. Yeah. And Alice, I mean, we had these conversations, right? Like, you look at him, hey, he's good, you know, but where does he play on those upper teams? Yeah. He's not nearly as physical. You know, does he get to throw? Does he get to, you know, at that point he was catching. Does he get to catch? You know, if you play on this team here, you know, you're batting, you know, right in the middle of the order, you get to play where you want to play, you're pitching in important spots. Yeah. You go up, you're kind of a backhand guy, and like, what's best for him, you know? And so it's really tough to make those decisions as a parent, and you've got to really trust that you got to let it go. Exactly. You know, you got to totally let it go and say, I don't know more than they know. And if my only reason for not wanting to do this is, you know, perception or
what team he's on.
Or right. And that becomes important, you know, and you can make it, there's several ways of thinking about it. It can be important and it should be important. Yes. But use it as a motivating factor instead of as a detriment, or as a, you know, you can use that chip any way you want to use that chip on your shoulder, you know? And it's hard as a parent. I mean, we all, and you think about it, you don't want to compare, because comparison it gets you in a lot of trouble. Yeah, right.
The thief of joy.
But it's also important to look and be realistic with yourself, your goals, with what's going on.
So I'm going to cut you off, because that's a touch on that, because I think that is the biggest piece nowadays that parent, and I think it's just the generation of parents that are coming in now. Right. It's not be realistic. It's not a thing anymore.
But you're right. And so and what I'm getting at with that specifically is, okay, my kid, he didn't grow until a little later. Yeah. Okay. So you get into, hey, he's a good player. Okay. There's 13 good players above him. Yeah. Should he be, you know, and you start going, well, he's right there. He's right here. He's right here. Well, does that get him any better? Yeah. You know, like, does he hit the ball as hard as this kid? No. Does he throw the ball as hard as this kid? No. Well, then maybe we just need to work a little harder. Yeah. I mean, maybe we need to, instead of complaining about it, instead of, you know, pushing your way here,
Making excuses.
why not trust the guys who know a little more than I know, and then let's just work. Like every time, and no matter, I think Dax said it the other day, like if you're always trying to get to that top step, you're just going to keep elevating yourself, right? Because there's always somebody above you, no matter how hard you work. You know, I mean, I promise you, Mike Trout's in a gym right now, thinking that somebody's better than him.
For sure.
And so, if you always have that to try to reach for, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with comparing yourself in that aspect.
Absolutely.
Where you get in trouble is when you compare yourself to, you know, why am I not getting what this kid's getting, or why am I not doing what this kid? It doesn't matter. That's not important. You know, work on you, work on what we got in our house, what we can control, and then everything else will just kind of fall. And I mean, Nico's a real good case study for that. Right. I mean, you know, and there was, you know, a couple things that happened that might not happen for every kid, but it's not, I've seen plenty of high-end 11-year-old kids now. And I see them in high school or whatever, and I'm like, what happened to that kid? That kid was crushing the ball at 11 or 12. And all of a sudden now, you know, he barely plays on his high school team, you know, or he's a, you know, whatever. I don't, but, you know, Avery and I were talking not too long ago about the way, you know, there's these high-end teams at 11, 12, 13 years old, and they're high-end. They barely practice.
They just come together on the weekends.
And they play and they crush, right?
Because they're more physical than everybody else.
And that plays at 11 or 12 years old.
For sure.
But when you're 16, 17, 18, and everybody's pretty much the same size, and it's skill and work ethic at that point that pays off.
Who's going to show up, right? And so, obviously, easier said than done. What were some abilities that you had to be able to kind of step, because obviously you come from a perspective going through it. In it, what would allow you to be able to step back and go, okay, I can look at it from this angle, instead of what happens now, I feel like, is that parents kind of live in their own fishbowl.
Well, and I had a unique perspective that I don't know how many practices I missed in 6 years. Okay, me, myself. Right? And I got to see, the one thing I also did was I didn't necessarily just stick, like you see some of these dads and they'll follow their kid around at the stations or whatever, you know, and I liked seeing the whole thing, right? Like if I was in the cage that day for practice, I stayed in the cage. No matter which teams were in there, you know, so I got to see some of the olders, some of the youngers.
See what worked for kids, didn't,
or whatever. And I've, you know, I mean, obviously you get close with all the coaches, and so we're talking about, you know, games and scenarios and things all the time. So I had a little bit more of a broad view of things, so I could see practice, you know, and I could see the kids that were really playing well and you know, really working, and then the kids who maybe weren't, you know, and you could see. I mean, that showed up. So I would encourage, and it was different. So like coming right off COVID, we couldn't have parents in the facility, right? And it was, at first I was like, oh man, this will be nice. No parents at practice. Right? Because some of them will be
on the fence.
Oh, all up in your business, right? And it's like, hey, sometimes, you know, you need to get into a kid a little bit, and you can't really do it because this mom's here.
And so talk about it, I mean, and you can look at it from both sides, right? Parent and coach and parent coach, right? How does that hinder the child?
Oh, I mean, it'll stun them. Like you're taking any authority away from the coach who is the authority figure, right? Like it's and so eventually when it's a teacher or a boss or somebody, and this kid's just looking around for somebody to deflect the blame.
Absolutely.
But what I was getting at is like at the end of, or when COVID started, we couldn't have any parents in here. And so we're thinking, oh, this is great, right? No problem. Well, now nobody can see what's going on. So everybody thinks their kid is the best kid in the program, right? And it was like, oh, if you could see practice, you would see that.
He's not.
Your kid's the reason we had to run 3 terrible triangles, you know, or he gave no effort at all during infield practice, or, you know, I can't get him to shut up in the cage and he's just, you know, like however it is. And so it is kind of nice when you get, you know, and then when they get a little older, you're in the stadium every day, and then the parents are kind of back, and but they see, you know, and so it's pretty obvious. But I think, you know, if I was a parent and I was looking at it and going, why is my kid not playing? Maybe the position I want him to play, or why is my kid not on this team, or why, I would encourage them, come to practice. It's open here. Come look. Come watch. Go, you know, if you think your kid should be on the team ahead, or not even, just go take a look.
And go watch their practice.
Yeah, go watch their practice. Odds are you'll be surprised with how clean, crisp, you know, fast. That's typically the difference, right?
You're right. It's mostly the tempo of play.
Right, and just be realistic with yourself. Go, you know, all right, I see the difference here. This is where we've got to get. So at that point, you can either, you know, hey, we need to take a few more lessons, or we need to do a little more work on the side. We need to get in the gym. Like, that's probably the number one thing that's hard to realize. And when they're 10, 11 years old,
for sure,
they're not getting in the weight room as much, right?
It's like, more about how much can we just play outside.
That I get, okay? But once they're back half of 12, 13, 14,
stuff starts coming into play.
You can see it.
Yeah.
You know, Vic Sanchez told me we were coming back in spring. And he goes, I guess we're going to find out today. And I said, find out what? And he goes, who got a PlayStation for Christmas and who got a squat rack?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I think we are.
That
you
is.
know, like, yeah, that's
and it's perfect because we're going into that time right now.
Right.
That winter season's right now where kids can. You really have two roads you can choose. Like you said, you can either just sit on your ass and do nothing for 3 months and then come back and hopefully you're good.
Yep.
It's just not gonna.
Right.
Or you can really put the work in for those 3 months and come back prepared.
And this is the time. Like, I remember seeing kids who would put in a bunch of work, and it was noticeable come spring.
Yeah.
And this, you know, like, you get a fresh start here.
Yes.
You know, I mean, more or less. Like, you were batting 7 or 8, and you were, you know, maybe not getting to play the position you wanted.
Yeah.
Hey, in spring, you get a couple weeks to show it. Yeah, I mean, you get to come right back at it.
Yeah.
And so, I don't feel like when they're younger, I don't feel like they maybe take advantage of that enough, as far as taking advantage of the off time.
Okay.
And that's where, I mean, you didn't realize how valuable that off time was when you're in the middle of it. And now looking back on it, we did a lot of stuff, you know, but there's always more you could have been doing, you know, and thinking about it, that off time is so valuable because now you can, because when you're in season, everybody's getting, there's only so many hours in the day that you're not at practice and you're not whatever. So everybody's getting a similar amount of work, right? But in the off season, if you really want to get after it, you can start picking up steps.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like that's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
So that's one thing going into this off season right now. I think kids and parents should really be utilizing that.
And so now, another cool thing that you got to experience, and I was a part of this, so being able to, and obviously it's just the facility in general, there's kids from 9 to pro level that are able to come in here.
Yeah.
Was that one thing when you started that was kind of like eye-opening? Like, oh wow, there's a range of kids and skill than I thought? And then we can talk about, after you answer that question, how it kind of was to be able to see those kids in action.
Okay. So to start, it was different because when you play, you have an organization with different levels of kids and ages, and so you got all these different groups of parents and kids, and it's a real like immediate family feel. Yeah. You know, I wasn't ready for that. You know, like all of a sudden, you know, a 10-year-old, you know, you got these 14-year-olds that are, you know, talking to these 10-year-olds and kind of showing them some stuff, and or the 7s and 8s, you know, now would be T's guys and whatever. They're out there looking. I mean, they look up to these guys they're rock stars. This is the best, right? Yeah. And getting, you know. Here's the other thing that I wasn't ready for, and it's 100% JD, but I mean, when you're a club kid, you're a club guy forever.
Yeah, forever.
Forever.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And you don't realize that when you're in the middle and you're going to practice and you're doing whatever.
Yeah. when you have the jersey on.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a club kid. That's fine. But then when you don't anymore, and he still basically opens his house is your house, and it's family stuff. Like it's home, and for a parent to get to give to your kid a place he's going to belong forever.
Yeah.
It's special, man. I mean, that doesn't happen. And so when you look at something like that and you're like, man, that was an unintended benefit that I can't ever thanking JD enough or whatever. I mean, it's great. Like, the past few years, shit, the world's on fire, man.
Yeah.
But
for sure,
you got kids who are these kids are happy. Like they're happy. Yeah. They're here. They got a place they belong. The place that they feel like it's home. I mean, you watch these kids. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They take pride in this place. They take care of this place. They, it's a unique thing. So that I was not ready for. As far as that family atmosphere, and I mean. Honestly, Noah, like we came up here because nobody really knew us. Yeah. There were no expectations for our kid. Yeah. And it was like, hey, he's just one of the guys. Fun. Yeah, just go have fun. Nobody's heard he's whatever, or hey, I thought this kid was this, or it was just we're going up there and with no intention of, feeling like it was a community, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I feel like we're home. Exactly. It's a cool thing, and I mean. It's not something to be taken for granted because it doesn't happen everywhere. And a lot of these people, I talk to parents now, they pulled their kid. Yeah. Hey, we didn't like this coach, or we didn't like the way this was going, or whatever. And then later on, they say, I wish we never would have left. Yeah. I've heard that conversation before, and it's like, well,
it's on you.
Yeah.
So coming in to Club All-Star, talk about those years. Probably like 12, 13-ish were things, right? And we, in a simple sense, would make a normal parent kind of upset.
Yeah. Okay. So the first conversation I had with JD about teams, like went through tryouts, right? No problem. And he calls me up and goes, hey, we'll offer him a spot. And I said, great. And he goes, he'll be on the second team. I think he fits best there. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, okay.
Right.
Fine, but what do you think? And now looking back on it, he was just thinking, like, look, I've had these other guys together. Mm-hmm. At that point, physicality wasn't such a big deal because they were 10. Yep. So all of them were kind of young. Yeah. And he had this group together, and they were 9s, 10s. And then, where's he going to fit in? He's going to be back half guy. He's going to play a lot of outfield. You don't want to pigeonhole him right away. Okay, fine. So me and Allison talk about it, and Nico loved it here. Yeah. And I was like, hey, if he likes it, we're going to try it. Yeah, so let's do it. So we do it. Great. So the next year comes, and he plays well. He plays well. It's great. It's fun. So the next year tryout comes, and JD calls, and JD was on the phone and Tyler. And actually, Cisco was on the call too, but he was too cowardly to say anything, right? Like he's in the back. Yeah, right. And JD and Tyler to start talking to me, and they're like, okay, we're going to offer him, obviously he's got a spot. And I said, okay. And they go, he's going to be on the third team. And I'm like, man. Like, what are you doing? I mean, what? Yeah. What? Seriously? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I knew Tyler, and Tyler was one of the guys I was like, I would love to have Nico. Super high energy. Yeah. Like, just a great guy. Yeah. Like, just great guy. Still a really good friend. I love him.
Police officer now, correct?
Yeah. So I was like, I want him to play for Tyler. I told JD, I said, hey, I'm going to have to think about it. Yeah. And at this point, JD and I know each other, but not. I mean,
we're not, you're not where we're at this point.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. Not even, okay. Yeah. So he goes, what do you need to think about? And I mean, typical JD fashion, right? Like, and now knowing him, I'm like, God, he was like working me right away, right? Like he had me. And he's like, what do you need to think about? And I said, JD, I just don't love this, man. And and I start, I'm talking to him, and I'm like, a lot of these other kids he played with, they're going to be on the second team. And but it was at that point that he had a couple other catchers come in and a couple, and that's kind of what he was doing. He wanted to do that. And JD had said, hey, look, if he wants to catch, like, I'm never going to tell a kid he can't do something. He never does, ever. And he's like, hey, look, he's going to play in the middle. He's going to, he's going to be able to pitch. And I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm going to, okay. And I got off the phone and I was like, all right, fine. And just kind of, all right.
Reluctantly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so I go home and tell Allison.
Okay.
Mama Bear was...
Yeah.
She wasn't upset, but she was like, you're kidding me. This and that. And I'm like, look, this is the best place for him. Yeah. Like, and if we don't like it, the only option is to work your way out of it.
Harder.
Right. Yeah. And so...
I'm going to cut you off. Because that is a hard thing for you. I can only imagine, right? That's your kid. Yeah. And you have
he's our only one, right? And this is his thing and whatever.
You have to look at him and go, work harder.
Gotta work harder.
Right?
Gotta work harder.
How did you get to that?
Honestly, no, I won't say he didn't care. He just wanted to play. Yeah. Didn't matter. Yeah. Like, no matter what team he's ever been on or whatever, he's found a couple guys he likes and want to hang out with.
Just wants to play ball.
Just wants to play. Didn't really see the difference. Yeah. And it was like he knew, that we were, there was levels to it or whatever, but it didn't matter. And the funny thing is about that year, that team won. So that team went to Cooperstown. He was playing up a year, but it was 12s. Yep. They went to Cooperstown. They won 44 games that year. Wow. And a majors tournament to finish the year. Dang. The third team. Yeah, the third team. So, we know, the third team won a majors tourney. And it was crazy. Yeah. Like, it was just such a great year. We had a great time. Yeah. He played great.
With Tyler, too.
And that was Tyler's last game he coached.
Oh, that's
was a majors tourney win.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he almost broke my back with the hug he gave me. But but it was,
It was worth it.
Oh, so then we go into the next year. And I'm like, where's he going to be? Yeah. We lost a couple kids on the blue team. Okay. I was like, how's this going to play out, whatever. So I get another call. I get a call. I don't get the call from JD this time. I get the call from Robbie direct. Okay. Third team again. Yeah. We're keeping the teams the same. Yeah. We're going to kind of, we got a couple things we can shift around, but we're going to keep them the same. And I'm like, all right, but at this point, like we're working.
The good year helped.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's getting better. Like, it's working. Like, the whole plan is working. It's just, you'd like to see a little bit of validation for the work. Yes. But the validation is in the play. So it's not in the team.
And so how do you, as a parent, how do you get, right? Because it's, in a simple sense, it's status. How do you get...
Essentially.
How do you get that out of there? How do you get that out of your brain that doesn't matter? Because I feel like nowadays, a lot of... Even for parents nowadays, it's like, what is my kid's status? Where is my kid's status among every other kid?
Right, and in today's social media society, it's real easy to stack everybody up against. But the problem is you're comparing your own blooper reel because you know everything you've ever done to everybody else's highlight film.
Exactly.
You don't see what goes on.
Nobody ever posts anything bad.
Never. Okay, so and that's fine, but it is what it is. Yeah. And so. Like where I adjusted everything was, and kind of what's going on right now, you got this World Series and whatever. It was great when the boys got to play. Yeah. And you'd say, okay, that kid's on the white team or that kid's on the blue team, and then you took him deep, or you struck that kid out, and it's the difference between a blue, white Columbia kid. It's not any one of them can do almost anything that all the rest of them can do. It's consistency, right? Like it's being a consistent player, and it's maybe one little specialty thing that this guy does, right? Like maybe this guy's a really good catcher, this guy's a really good pitcher, or this guy, really picks it at first, or however it is, or this guy rakes. And so, to get to validate that, but I mean, we were nuts. Like at that point, between 12s and 13s and right around there, like
That's crazy.
Well, I became like, I tried whatever I could to help him get better. Yeah. We were going to Stanford twice a week. Yeah. We're going to Sunday night hacks. We're going to Wednesday defensive drills. We're doing anything and everything we could do. We're here, on off days. So that was my answer. I wasn't looking for the validation. I was looking for another way to get better. Like, how are we gonna get here? Because I could see those other kids were different.
Yeah.
You know, if you looked at those kids that were above, you know, I looked at a, you know, Dylan Minity or a Max Medina, or these kids are great.
Yeah.
Like, and they did everything.
They're consistently.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. And you know, you watch them and you're like, yeah, Nico, you know, you hit that ball, whatever. Yeah, well, Minity does that 9 out of 10. You know, just boom, 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 boom. They're just really, really good players. And there's nothing wrong with not being there yet. You've got to be okay with not being okay.
Yes.
You know, like
my goodness.
It's gotta be all right.
Yeah.
You know that, hey, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And you've got, your options are very limited. You know, you can bitch and complain, or you can pull your kid, or you can just put your head down.
Yeah.
Those are your only three.
That's
all you got. Yeah, there's no, you know, no matter what.
Special potion.
There's no, not that's legal.
Right.
You know,
That's
like
true.
so I mean, you just can't do it. So you put your head down, you work, and then you know, we got about halfway through the year with Robbie, and then world shuts down.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, me and you, we got a lot with that, and that was a special opportunity that's not afforded to everybody. But
I'll talk. I mean, I'll talk about it. I mean, my stepbrother, Jaron Silva, out of UCLA. I went to art school. It was just a bunch of college guys: Zach Mathis, Christian Almanza, Dean Kramer with the Orioles. It was a very
Dylan Tatum.
Dylan Tatum. It was a very special group.
Tyler Lozano.
Yeah, it was insane. USC. It was a very special group, but 2 kids would show up every single day. It was Dax and Nico.
Yeah.
And they would show up every day we were there.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able. That was my first time understanding how influential you could be.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That was your point of, okay, I'm not a player, and now you're transitioning out of being a player, and now all of a sudden getting this perspective of, because you guys saw what you did for those 2.
It was crazy.
I mean, yeah.
And I'm so happy that they were able to, and we worked hard, but we knew what the stakes were.
Right.
They had no idea what the stakes were.
No.
And they still really don't, but all they took away from it was, I need to work hard. That's all I need to do.
Yeah.
How cool is that for you?
Man, I don't know. So, like, first of all, I mean, like, the whole world's going nuts, right? And it's a scary world. Scary world. I mean, we're
shut down.
We're coming in the back way of Hebert. You can't be outside talking, or the neighbors call the cops. Like, we're in it, and for everything to be going on like that, and my kid can't wait to get up, and he's calling me, asking me when I can be there, because he needs to get there, you know, whatever. We got to get there early. We got to, or mom's got to take me, and you got to be there. Just don't even bother. I'll call you later. So
it was great.
It was a wild time. Like he was so like happy to be. That was the time when things shifted for me as a parent, where I didn't realize. Because you see this, and you see the board out there, and hey, these guys went and, you know, did this. This guy did this. This guy did that. That was when I figured out that the way that it's not a secret how that got done.
Yeah.
Okay, that got done through work, right? Like, but you have to love the work.
Yeah, it's not work if you love it.
It's not.
Yeah.
And I watched my kid fall in love with the work right then. Like, couldn't get enough of it. Wanted to do it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going through batting gloves like every other day. He's ripping holes in these batting gloves. He's got blisters all over his hands, and all he wants to do is go out there and hit. I mean, poor Cisco, I'm surprised he has a tendon left in his arm.
We tell him that all the time.
I mean, he's 1,000 pitches a day those times.
I think it was, in 1 week, it was 1,500 pitches a day, which was insane.
I mean, and he's in there pumping.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had no choice. He had to throw hard.
Right. But so, like, those, I mean, specifically Nico and Dax had it anyway, right? Like, he knew what was going to go on. But, like, you figured out, hey, this isn't a hieroglyphic that you can't read.
Yep.
Here it is, bud. You do this, and this is how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
You know, or more or less. You know, you go down that road. You're going to be what you're going to be. But if you give it this effort, this is the work that needs to be put in.
Yeah.
These are going to be the results you're going to get.
Yeah.
And now what? Okay.
And so like you said, I'm always very curious about this because my dad always says like there's just some things as a parent that the kid will never know when the gratification comes.
Right.
So was the gratification there when you realized he's going to work no matter what, or was it he loves the game so much so that's why he's doing it?
So I had a guy tell me, Justin Dowdy, who worked with him quite a bit when he was younger. He told me one time, he goes, "Don't worry about him." I said, "Easy for you to say, man."
Right? I mean, like, I just deal with this guy every day.
Like easy for you to say. He goes, he says what did he tell me? He says he loves to play and he hates to suck. And I was like, he goes, "I wouldn't worry about it." Yeah. But you still worry about it, and you still never know.
Of course.
But now it's different. Yeah. Like now, coming right off of that, so, I mean, we had every day. He's in here with the college guys.
It was every day.
Every day. I mean, every
didn't
day.
Miss a day.
No. And I mean, and it's doing everything every day, basically with those calls. I go back, if I get in a rabbit hole looking at some of those videos of, and Jaron and Ryan Kreidler. Jaron sends me a picture the other day, and he's like, "How crazy is this?" And I was like, "Man, it feels like yesterday."
The Detroit Tigers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dean had that start, in the playoffs.
Gross.
And I had a buddy of mine say, "Hey, send me some pictures." I got pictures of Dean throwing to Nico live to Nico, and I'm like,
he was so nervous to do that, by the way. Thank you for doing that, Dean. I know how nervous you were doing that.
It was so cool. It was, and then they get to go. JD and I and Dax and Nico, we get to go watch Dean pitch at Oracle this year, and we go in the tunnel and go see Dean coming out of the clubhouse. He comes over. I mean, man, it doesn't get any better than that, And these kids see it, and they're not shooting for something that's never going to be able to be in their grasp because they've seen it right here. Yep. And that's an attainable goal for them, that if they stay the course and they keep doing what they need to be doing, it's an attainable goal. Whether it happens or not, but you're not going to regret not putting in the work and not getting to that point. The validation came, the long-winded answer to the original question.
No, I love it. Take it as long as you want.
Right after that, they start playing, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're in there with drop fives.
Just letting it eat.
And I mean, Nico's hitting the ball.
Just letting it.
And I'm like, and all of a sudden, this kid goes from I'll go the other way, 2-hitter to, I'm trying to see how far I can put that ball into the trees. Yep. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And it's kind of fun, like I like being that dude. So if you see, hey, I put in the work, and part of practice here is we're in the weight room. At least once a week, no matter what the age is, those guys are in the weight room, and whether they're getting as much out of it as they would later, they're learning how to do it, and that you need to be in there.
And I think that's the part that a lot of kids don't understand is it's not just get in there, bench and squat and they're done. Right. It's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to essentially make the strongest athlete possible.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So me and Jaron actually talked about this. So. For those of you who don't know, Jaron's my stepbrother. Now he plays at UCLA, or did play at UCLA, coach at UOP now. Very good baseball mind, just kind of a really good, solid dude. We were talking about it. We were saying how diverse that group was, and how we had, and in a physicality-wise, right? We had all the way down to 5'2" Zach Mathis to 6'4" Christian Almanza.
Right.
And everybody in between.
Right.
And me and Jaron were talking about that.
And everybody was left-handed.
Everybody. Everybody was left-handed except for Dean.
Right.
Well, I think, Dean didn't hit left-handed. I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Remember he hit the switch?
Yeah, he did.
He almost went pitch after pitch, righty-lefty, leaving Hebert. Yeah, it was crazy.
That was crazy.
He's athlete. A freak. Yeah, right.
And we were talking about how influential that was to Dax and Nico at the time, because obviously, two different physical specimens.
Right. Yeah.
And just it gave them an insight to it doesn't matter what your physicality is. Obviously, like we said, at a certain age, 10 and 11.
Right.
But once we get out of that 12, 13, it's all about play. Like,
right.
Can you play well?
Right.
How did you see that in Nico? Because I know, obviously, we haven't really touched on it, but undersized, right? That's usually a chip on your shoulder in baseball already,
right,
to start.
Yeah.
How did you, and it could have been before that COVID, or like you said, after that COVID when the lights switched. How did you see his mentality start to change?
So, I mean, he when he was younger, he was small,
Yes.
right? Like just small. And then once COVID hit and he started, but I will always prescribe to the theory that like, you can be small, it's fine.
Yep.
You can't be weak.
No.
Like you can't, so no matter what, we were always working on something. Now, I didn't have him pushing weights around at,
Right.
8, 9 years old, but I mean,
We're doing something.
we're doing stuff. Yeah.
Push-ups or
Yeah, we're
something.
doing stuff. I mean, we just are.
Yeah.
But before, I always felt like he was, smaller, undersized. Maybe didn't throw that hard. I wasn't pushing him to throw hard. I knew he had a long way to go development-wise, and I think he's still got a little more, so I'm still
I'm going to cut you off again.
Yeah.
Because you're dropping these great insights. Because parents want the instant gratification now. Mm-hmm. I want my kid to throw hard right now. Mm-hmm. What was your ability to go, no, this is a process? How were you able to get to that point? Because I feel like a lot of parents are not going to be able
Okay,
to
so
get
let's do the mound stuff with him,
Okay.
because that's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
So, my first priority for him, when I knew that he wanted to pitch, could pitch, was teaching him how to pitch. Okay? Yeah. So when you do, there's a lot of different styles on doing pitching lessons or pitching technique or whatever, but when you do a lesson or you go in and hit in the cage, how long can you hit for if you got 3 or 4 guys? You can hit for a couple hours, 3, 4. How long can you throw for?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go in there and just start throwing a baseball for 4 hours. I mean, you can't do it. So what do you need to do? You need to build up strength. But it's upstairs, man, that is the biggest key.
For sure.
And honestly, like I said, he learned from a real young age. Justin Dowdy was great with him. Yep. But then bringing him over to JD, and JD being left-handed, yep, and a pitcher, and him just being him, like it was so beneficial for him just to learn the mental aspect. And then once I was confident that he knows how to pitch, okay? Now it's put him in scenarios, okay? Put him in the fire, put him in scenarios. Am I worried about his velo right now at 12 years old? No, I'm not, okay? I see his stature. Yeah. Is he gonna be 4'10" forever? No, he's not. So let's let him progress, understand how to pitch. My main thing was I don't wanna see him rattled. Yeah. I don't want to see emotion out there.
No matter what the situation is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's next pitch.
Yep.
That's all we have is next pitch.
Perfect.
We don't have anything else.
Yep.
We have next pitch, whether you're in the box or whatever happened before, and whatever's going to happen hasn't happened yet, so we're not going to worry about it. Okay. It's next pitch. And so we go through, I wanted to get that done first. Then I wanted to make sure that he was strong enough to throw hard. Yeah. I mean, no, you've seen it. We've all seen it. Yeah. These kids are having TJ at 15, 16,
it's insane. 13,
14. That wasn't going to be my kid.
No.
I mean, who knows what could happen later, but I know that protect is maybe the wrong word, but I've been super cautious. Yeah. And the philosophy of club in general is super cautious.
Very.
I mean,
health-centered.
Right.
Very health-centered.
It's centered, it's what's best for the kid, okay? And there's been plenty of times we've been in a tournament or a game or whatever, and I've wanted to put him in. Yeah. But and whether it's Robbie or Vic or JD no, we're not putting him in. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Not right now.
He threw too much last week, or his arm's been barking. We're not doing it. And so what's funny is everything that we thought was going to happen, or JD's been through it so many times that it just kind of happened that way, and it's like Nico was always soft toss and lefty, soft toss and lefty, soft toss and lefty, and now all of a sudden he's in the mid eights, and it's you still get that kind of label, but not anymore. And now it's like, okay, well, how do we build on it and keep? But let's just stay the course. Why change it now? Yeah, why go out there and just try to hit a number all the time? Let's just keep pitching. And it really made for a complete pitcher, ball player,
for sure,
whatever. But it just goes to show, like, the philosophy. If you buy in, if you just let go, and just say, hey, I trust him, then more times than not, good things are going to happen if the kid buys in.
For sure.
Kid's got to buy in.
That's the hard,
Kid's got to buy in.
And you can't, it's that whole thing, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Right. Yeah. And most of the, most of the time, if the kid's got the support from home, so the parent's not bad-mouthing the coach or letting the kid know that they're not happy. I mean, that's kind of productive.
For sure.
There's nothing good that's going to come out of it when the kid thinks he's, should be doing something else.
He's only going to listen to you at that point.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
And so now, right, coming out of COVID, having that good year after, how did we see, was there, because I'm curious about this too from a parent's perspective, is there a parent shift between the way tournament ball parents act and high school parents act, or is it kind of like the same thing? Or is it just more political high school stuff on that side and then travel ball?
I don't know. Yeah. First of all, I will say, and this is something that was told to me however many times, okay? Enjoy every second of the travel ball experience, the fun, and I remember hearing it I don't know how many times, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, whatever. And then now looking at it and going, man, that was fun. Yeah. Like I'd kill for an 8 a.m. game at BLD, right? Like
on a Saturday.
I would kill for it. It would be great. I would love to miss some college football to go watch them play. So that's number one. I would say enjoy it. It's different, and not saying it's not great, bad, but it was weird last year. Nico was a freshman, and then you go play varsity as a freshman, and so you're obviously taking somebody's spot. You're taking a varsity, a junior or senior who's already been there. Yeah. You're taking their spot. Yeah. Innings wise or at bat, you're taking somebody's at bat. Yeah. And so you never know how that's perceived. Yeah. And Dax, when he walks in there, he looks like he commands a little bit, and Nico on the mound does his thing, but it's weird as a parent. Like JD knows these people from Stockton, and a lot of these kids went through the program, so they're familiar. But Allison and I were up in the stands, kind of.
Technically, you're just a dad.
I'm just a dad. Yep. I'm just a dad. Yeah, for sure. And try to be as quiet as I can. Right. But by the end of the year, honestly, like. You grow the same attachment, for the kids and for the parents, and you pull for kids. And last year we had Gary Scandavino had a big hit in the playoffs, and like I couldn't have felt better for the kid. Yeah. Like there were some real awesome moments that happened for some of these kids that absolutely deserved it, and it was a lot of fun. And then making that run, through to the section semis. Yep. It was a lot of fun. It was
just a cool ride.
It was nerve-wracking, but it was nerve-wracking.
And so I talked to Dax a little bit about it, but because obviously, right, you have a freshman on varsity. Yeah. There's an innate pressure already. Yeah. For him, is there any for you?
Oh man, it's like 10 times what they feel.
That's what I'm curious.
It's not even close. Those boys. At that point, nobody's driving, so it's either me or JD picking them up every day and dropping them off here after practice and doing whatever. And it was like pulling teeth to get any information out of them. How's practice? Good. What'd you do? We hit and we're on the field. Were you with varsity or JV? Varsity. How'd you do? Fine. I went, 2 for 3.
So good.
Okay. Okay. What else? I threw 1 inning. Struck out the side. Okay, I'll see you guys later. What
are we doing here?
Like, that's a pretty big deal, you know? And then I get, and JD will call me later. Did you get anything out of him at practice? Yeah, I went 2 for 3 and struck out the side. He's like, oh, that's great. I'm like, I
couldn't tell me.
I guess. Whatever. Yeah, it was great, I guess. And so, but they didn't know they were going to be on the squad, and really, Randy never.
Dax said it was late.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't even think they officially got.
True.
They were just there, just all the time there. Yeah. They didn't take the picture with the team. Like they took the picture without the freshmen. They did.
They waited as long as they could.
I think, and actually, like Randy Ortega, he was so great, but. I think it was basically to make them earn every bit of it. Every bit of it.
And that's what
and they left
Dax
no doubt.
Mentioned that.
Left no doubt.
Yeah.
Like they belonged there. Nobody could say anything, and nothing was handed to them. No matter what, No matter anything, what you look like, what your last name was, whatever, you're going to earn it. And if you earn it, you get it.
Yeah.
And it made for a really, and the team was great. Those boys were,
No doubt.
they were.
That was a good year for you guys too.
They were it was supposed to be from all whatever. They were supposed to be down a little bit. They're real young.
Yeah.
But
They
played great.
They were
And
great.
it's credit to the coaching staff and the boys. They were, but I mean, those are, at one point, every kid on that St. Mary's varsity roster was a club kid.
Yeah.
On the field.
Awesome. That's
so I mean, like, you know, and then they'd come in here after practice and
talking about it, yeah.
I mean, they were hitting in the cage, you know, they'd go to practice and then come over here and it's crazy how great these kids are just as kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, pretty great.
So just to kind of wrap it up, one, right, bringing it full circle, would you, obviously, right, easier question to say than to answer, right? Is there anything you would change in the process?
Okay. So I've heard, you mean my specific process?
Yeah. Or you and Nico's process, your process about how you handled every situation, whatever it may be.
I mean, obviously there's situations where we look back and, you know, maybe I should have kept a comment to myself or whatever, but all in all, like I mean, you always got to look at where you're at right now, right? Yeah. And if you told me right now, you know, 5-6 years ago, he's where he's at right now, I'm very happy. Yeah. I don't want to change anything because I don't want anything to affect where that is. Yeah. I mean, I can't make him be 6'6", right. You know, so he's going to be what he's going to be. And I feel like he's because he's been here, he's a really good ball player. Sure. He's a really good kid. He's around really good people. Yeah. He's got a great base. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how I could change any of that. Yeah. I don't want to change any of that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm thankful for everything, you know, that we've been able to do. Yeah. So, I really hope, you know, there's a question you've asked everybody here, and I wanted to answer it.
What's the future of?
Yeah, okay. Like what do I want to see?
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of a cool question, right? Because it could be anything. Right. But what I'm really hopeful is the young guys, okay? So you and Cisco and Ave and, you know, all these guys, Dakota, you know, J-Rod, all the guys. Like, you guys see what JD built in 20 years. Yeah. Right? I mean, you heard, you
I was a part of it.
Right. Okay, 20 years. Yeah. This is what's possible. Okay? And the amount of kids that's affected.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, and he got started, he was probably older than you guys are. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, like, what could you do in 20 years to affect not only that? So flip it. I'm flipping the question around on you. Okay?
Oh,
no, but I'm saying, like, look at it. Yeah. Look at what you could do in 20 years. And you don't realize it until go out to dinner with JD anywhere.
Right. Mayor Stockton, dude.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's this kid, this guy, this way, come over here. You know, every one of them has been, you know, there's a couple kids that have been affected in some way positively. Yes. And that's not something that's common in every walk of life. You know, you go get a desk job.
You're not influencing people like that.
No. Yeah. No.
That was and I said it to Dax, it's super cool to be able to have a conversation with him, and I want to have one with Nico too, so he can talk about his perspective through all this. But that full circle moment of like being, because like you said, like we were a very influential part for those guys seeing how work ethic should have been. Yeah. And so for me to be done with baseball and them just starting and seeing how like they are acting and going about their business, it's like it. I almost got choked up when I was talking to Dax about it because it's like cool. It's super cool for me to be able to do that. And so when you ask me that question, it's like I think of millions of things that we could do. Right.
No, that's one thing I thought when you asked that question, and you know JD answered it. All you guys have kind of answered it. Yeah. But I'm like, that's not really the question. The question is what do you guys? Yeah. What do you guys? What do you think is possible here? I mean, it's because. You look at the facility. You not only the lives and kids affected, but look at the facility. You know, JD and I now being close friends. Obviously, like that guy never stops helping those kids, no matter what. Yeah. And it is crazy the amount of calls he'll get, and even from guys who
Long gone.
Yeah, long gone. And hey, can you call this guy for me? I want him to look at, this guy or this or this. Always helping. Always.
And the cool thing about JD too is he will go up to you and ask if you want help. He's not waiting for you to come ask.
No, and
he's going up. Hey, I think I can help you.
And in fact, like there's sometimes I'm like, JD, I didn't ask you because I'm tired. I don't want you feeling like you have to. Anymore. No, not that. It's I feel bad. Like eventually it's like, I feel bad. I don't want to ask. I'm not asking. And he just goes and does it anyway. And it's just because that's the kind of dude he is. And so
for sure.
It's pretty great and it's pretty special. And like, I know it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it and you're so concerned with my kid batted at 8th this weekend or didn't get to play the infield as much as I wanted to or doesn't get to pitch or whatever. Yeah. And then you're missing the whole...
the entire fun that you're supposed to be having.
You're missing it. Yeah. That the fact that your kid is developing this love for a game and being around people that he genuinely enjoys and enjoy being around him and having a place that he belongs and feels safe, and that's
taking it out of him.
That's everything, right? Yeah. And then you want him to play more infield or win a tournament, like
bat third,
right? Yeah. I mean, great. That sounds great, but you're probably better off the other way,
right?
So, I mean that's kind of where when you ask me, what would I change or what? Probably nothing. Probably nothing.
I love it. So. And so last question, what would be some advice to parents going forward? All walks of life, all physicality, all types of teams, anything. What would be an overarching message for all youth parents?
Okay, so I got 2 quick stories. I don't know how much time.
No, we got as much time as you want.
Okay, all right. I got 2 good ones then. So, Nico's probably 6, 7 years old.
Okay.
So you're right. So and we're playing Little League.
Okay.
No big deal. And the coach for the Little League is he's friends with Greg Davis. And Greg is JD Davis's dad from Elko. Okay.
Yep.
So he goes, hey, I'm friends with Greg. He says, can we go up and let's go watch a game? JD's playing with. At the time he was a single A player in the Astros organization, and he was playing in Modesto. And I said, sounds great. Let's go. So we went, and it was fun, whatever. Had a good time. I talked to him, super great dude. Yeah. And JD was super nice, and Nico's just a little guy. Yep. And so Greg says, so we exchanged some emails and talk, and he says, hey, come, JD's playing in Stockton, come watch him. Yeah. I said, okay. So come up there, first at bat, I'm sitting there with Greg, JD, whap, home run. And I'm like, wow, that's and I mean, at this point, I'm like, I can't even imagine, that this is, and we're, way, way young in the process,
6, 7
right?
Years old.
And I'm thinking, I can't even imagine how great this would be.
Yeah.
And Greg doesn't even move.
No
and I'm like, this guy's stone cold. Like, he's no joke. And I'm like, hey, that's great.
As you're like,
I'm so excited, and Nico's jumping up and down and whatever. And he just kind of keeps on with the conversation. I'm like, all right, I guess that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So fast forward maybe 2 years, and we're at an Oregon-Stanford game. And Nico is bat boying for Stanford. Nice. So he would go up there for their camps, and then, Martyr would have him come and do the bat boy on the weekends.
That's so
and,
sweet.
Oh, it was
so cool.
Great, right? So he's bat boying. So I'm watching these guys, and Oregon at that point was really in its infancy of the program. They just brought it back. And
just got the new coach, right?
I don't know if Waz was there yet, but it was, they lost their program from, I think 09 is when they got it back, from 81 to 09 or something like that.
You're right.
So it was a few years in, but they were in their infancy. And this third baseman, he was a freshman. And I mean, this kid was super physical. Yeah. I mean,
just a stud.
You could just tell. Yeah. Like he jumped off the field.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this kid, and he makes 2 diving plays at third, saved runs. And then with them down a run in the 9th inning, okay, he had like 2 hits in the game, down a run in the 9th inning, he hits his laser to center field, okay? It hit the snot out of the ball, probably, 110 to center. Yeah. And it dies on the track, or the guy catches it on the track. And his dad was sitting there below me, and we had been kind of talking in between. And his dad, I said, hey, boy played a hell of a game. You know, he saved a couple runs there, had a couple big hits, and then I thought he was going to do it at the end. And I mean, you'd have thought that kid was, you know, got busted for meth 15 times. Like, he had not one good thing to say. And I was like, oh, whoa.
Okay.
And, you know, and I thought, man, I never want to be that dad. You know, like this guy, this kid's great.
You're not praising anything.
Yeah, and come to find out, you know, later on when you go to, that kid won Freshman of the Year, Pac-12 Freshman of the Year.
Wow.
He was an absolute stud. His second year, he was an All-American, second team All-American. I followed him for a little bit. I don't really remember his name, but anyway, and I thought that was like the second I had a little click where I was like, you got to enjoy it sometime.
Yep.
You know, and JD gives me some guff because honestly, like, I'm their biggest fan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I am, and he's too cool. I mean, he's too cool to admit it, and that's fine. He's seen it all, whatever. But I mean, Dak hits a home run. I'm jumping up and down.
Yeah.
You know, Nico strikes out the side. I am. If I don't do it outwardly, I am definitely doing it inside. Yeah, I love it when they do good. You know, and I want to root for them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're my favorite players. Like they just are. It's great, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'm unrealistic about, you know, Nico specifically, where he is and whatever. I know I'm well aware of where we need to work and where we need to be, but it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy all of the great things they do, right? Yeah. I mean, I got to enjoy it because it's awesome. It's the best. So yeah, I mean that would be my advice to, you know, club parents is, you know, I know it's hard. Yeah. I know the rides home.
Firsthand.
I know the rides home sometimes aren't fun, you know, and some of the best parenting I ever did is not saying a word on the way home. You know, like just put on some music. Yeah. It'll be fine. It's all right. No big deal. Right. I mean, you know, and we'll be all right. We'll get in the cage when we get home. Yeah. It's not a big deal. Yeah, right. That's awesome. So those are some of the best. Yeah.
Love it. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening. This has been All Stars Club episode number 7, once again with Joe Bavaro. Please, if you did like anything, please go give a subscribe and drop a like button. This has been a great topic. And again, if you were angered by anything that Joe said, take a look in the mirror, right? There may be something that you or somebody else that you know may need to work on. And again, this all comes from a place of just wanting to make the athlete better. We're not trying to do anything other than try to make the athlete the best that they can be. So if you guys, once again, please like and subscribe, and then go follow us on Instagram at Club All Star, all undercase, no spaces. And thank you guys very much for listening. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.